All right, and we are live. Peace and love, everyone. Welcome to my channel. If you're new, please like and subscribe. And I'm your host, Queen Tamara. And this evening, we are having a very exciting discussion. This is something that is very important and relevant to me as an emerging new farmer. And we're going to be talking about food sovereignty and why it is a must, especially at this time. So we're going to be talking about food sovereignty and a little bit about food justice and why this is so important to every community, but especially our community. And food is an essential need. Most of us rely on someone else to feed us. We go to the supermarket, farmer's market, or have groceries delivered. And this may or may not be a problem until there is a shortage or changes to the supply and demand, or the quality of the food available might change. And so many of us don't have access to good quality food, and we live in areas considered to be food deserts, especially in certain areas and some cities. And poverty plays a huge role in the type of access you have to food. And this has given rise to the food justice movement. And food justice views food access disparities as a systemic problem born of structural racism and the loss of community control of food. And food sovereignty is a food system in which the people who produce, distribute, and consume the food also control the mechanisms and the plans and policies of the food production and the type of food that's available and the distribution. So tonight we're going to be talking about this and how to really empower ourselves by having more control over our food supply and the food that we consume. And so I want you to welcome my guests. We have King Manifest Ra and King Che Axum. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm gonna stop talking. I'm gonna give you all a chance to introduce yourselves for the listening audience. So if you one of you like to volunteer to share a little bit about yourselves.
I'm gonna let the elder go, Brother Che.
Che.
Okay. Yeah. It's yeah. Age before youth. So yeah. So yeah. Thank you so much for inviting me to talk about this. This is kind of my ministry, passion, whatever you want to call it. Um, my name is Che Axum. So I am currently the role I play right now. I'm the director of urban ag and garden education for the University of District of Columbia.
Mhm.
UDC is a land grant institution, and we kind of specialize in urban agriculture. So UDC has a 143-acre farm in Beltsville, Maryland, and we conduct all types of kind of research-related projects with that related to urban agriculture and also peri-urban agriculture, which means not quite urban, sometimes in between rural and urban agricultural systems. So we do a lot of research there regarding those specific systems. And basically, I am yeah, I didn't grow up farming. I'm fortunate that I did not grow up farming. I am kind of got transported into this via health and nutrition and pharmacy. And
Mhm.
in the early '80s, I got into farming and went back to school and got my degree from my agronomy degree from University of Maryland. And I got into farming, and I've also spent about 20 years working for the USDA Agricultural Research Service in Beltsville. Spent a lot of time there working. So I started up a couple of organic certified farms. And so just a very passionate individual about this spiritual science, spiritual art and science of agriculture. So I'm here to give as much as I can.
Oh, awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And Manifest.
Well, my name is Manifest Ra. Thank you, Sister Tamara, of course, Brother Che Axum, the elder here, really for this discussion on food sovereignty.
Mhm.
I'm from the DMV here. Have an organization known as Heal Humanity. Well, it's self-explanatory, but to just give you a little taste of that, we're focusing on growing your own food, on taking responsibility for your own health care. Self-care is healthcare. Uh, Promoting love and higher consciousness as opposed to fear-based approaches to life. All of the approaches that we need to take to heal ourselves and heal humanity, I'm for promoting and inspiring and motivating others to do the same for themselves. And so, with that, I'm here this evening just join this conversation and contribute to us all growing together.
Excellent. Great, great. So, how did you get involved in the food sovereignty movement?
For me personally, I mean, my my uh, my background, again, I said, is agronomy, it's crop and soil science. But I mean, you can't, as a person of color, Black, African person, origin, I can't you can't just get into the science of it. You're always you're into the social part of it, the culture, the agriculture, the cultural part of it, even before you even learn about the science of it. So I was, into learning about the cultural part of it before I even understood the science part of it. So, it was very interesting. The sister, I never forget this. The sister has a book out called Food is a Weapon. Her name is Lena Mobley.
Mm-hmm.
So she had a book out called Food is a Weapon. So I got that book back in the early 80s and read it. And about that time, I was transitioning to College of Agronomy at University of Maryland. So the social aspect, the cultural aspect of the agricultural kind of connection, food sovereignty, food justice, food as a weapon, and all those kind of things, kind of really, I was getting hitting with all those things as supposed, and at the same time the science of the science of agriculture at the same time. So that's for me. It was a combination of both of these things kind of hitting me as once, and just leading me into the direction of becoming a agronomist and becoming a consultant and things like that. So yeah,
Okay.
it was always there together. They hit me at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you, Manifest?
Well, I'm just concerned with our quality of food,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Yeah.
our ability to have some influence over our food. And
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in somewhat of a health conscious family. We weren't vegans, vegetarians, any of those nice terms that we use, you know, very pronounced in this day and time. But we had healthy values. You always ate something green on your plate. You always ate fruits for breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, get plenty of exercise. So those healthy habits were ingrained in me very early on. And so when I look back and reflect back in my formative years or my school years, we were all often told you are what you eat, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they tell children that these days. I'm not sure what they're teaching in schools, but you are what you eat. But
Yes.
um, do we really know what we're eating? If we don't have any influence over what we're eating these days,
Yes.
we don't have any, in many cases, understanding of where the food is coming from these
Mm-hmm.
days. We don't have any understanding of the process that goes into the food production that we experience. I mean, the food production process. Then what are we really eating? And if we are what we eat, are we even really human anymore if we're eating foods that are vastly genetically modified
Mm-hmm.
and all those kinds of things? And so I'm very concerned about what I'm eating, what we're all eating. And as sovereign divine beings, it is truly time to realign with what our grandfathers and great grandfathers did, where they had their own trees, they had their own squash, and they did much on their own before they were miseducated not to. That's what I'm really concerned about is just us realigning with a more authentic, if we want to use that term, organic. I don't know how organic that term is these days, but organic way of living. So that's why I'm concerned about food sovereignty.
Yeah, I got involved in the food sovereignty movement because I noticed, especially around the year 2020, this really kind of got me more involved in it. When a lot of the stores had that shortage of food right around, March, April, when the COVID pandemic began, and driving around the DMV area, which is, where I call home now. And I'm noticing that um, there was shortages in a lot of the stores for months, and trying to bridge that gap and supplement, and then and then as I drove around or reflected on the stores in our area, the majority of them are big corporation supermarkets, and they're not owned by people that live in our community. Um, and then in some places you go, there's like a food desert. Like you drive for blocks and you see a supermarket. Or the closest one is a good distance away. And I just noticed that there's a lot of disparities. And then also in other cities like Baltimore, you see more of that. And so that was a concern. And I was like, we really need to have more community owned stores, or just more community gardens, or more access to fresh produce that we grow ourselves, and we don't have to be dependent on anyone else for them, or just more farmers markets, or more access to stuff, instead of just farmers markets during certain seasons and things like that. And I guess it just depends on what kind of city you live in. Because I grew up in Virginia, and so it's like some places is like a abundance of access to produce, and then other places is not so much. It's only, your only option is supermarkets. So I commend both of you in the work that you do in the communities with your organizations, Shay, and also with um, Grow Your Own that Manifest works with. Why do you all think this is so needed at this time? Is there a greater need for it now, you think?
Yeah, personally, I think so, because there's so many other entities, and just with the internet and so many other kind of things that really kind of direct our attention towards them. There is an answer. There's an answer for food sovereignty, and it's one word.
Hmm.
That word is agroecology.
Agroecology. Okay.
So, you know, as as I like I said, I am the director of urban ag and garden education for the University of the District of Columbia, but I have introduced the concept of agroecology to the university, and there are some courses being taught there and workshops and things like that. But I'm a proponent of agroecology because if you anybody go online now and you just look up agroecology as opposed to, say, maybe urban agriculture or just agriculture in general,
Hmm.
there's a whole social component to urban agroecology. So the social network is there, the food justice network is there, the lack of uh, undesirable amendments is there. Say if you don't want this or you don't want that, and you think those things are sometimes harmful to you, if you are against GMOs, or you are against using soil sludge as a soil amendment, or you're against using some pesticides in your environment, in your community, agroecology is already there to say, hey, this is what this is, and some of those things that you think might be, not beneficial to you and your environment and your community. The concept of agroecology, urban agroecology, already uh, limits those things. It puts a moat around that, and so yeah. So I would suggest people to really just kind of do some deep dives into agroecology, and
Hmm.
really understand what it is, and it's a huge social impact part of that, which is beneficial to food sovereignty.
Hmm.
Yeah, huge.
Okay. What about you, Manifest? Why do you think it's so needed now?
Well, as Brother Chase said, it's food justice. When you look at the world in which we live, not just people of color, melanated folks, it's so many people have been displaced, marginalized in the world. And I'm hearing um, real life stories consistently now
Hmm.
about farmers, whether they're in India or Africa, or other places around the world, who are being displaced from their food. These people have been growing their own food there in their own communities for eons.
Hmm.
But multinational corporations are coming in telling them that, that's not no longer what it needs to be. And they're growing then genetically altered foods, and
Hmm.
then to the people there who were growing their own foods before they were, pressured, in many ways not to. So I think there's some things that are beyond our control in a micro level because we're having this conversation. We're not over in Africa or India at this moment. But it's really important to me that people, everyday people, start to make small changes,
Hmm.
take small steps.
Yes.
For example, we're in an area where there's a certain level of affluence with who we call African American, whatever term we call ourselves, in PG County and other places, as Brother Chase said, and Bowie and other places. But I'm out here in Fort Washington at the moment, and in most of these communities with these, what we consider middle income homes, so to speak, 99% of the time there's no gardens.
Hmm.
There's no food being grown. The garden, I mean, the grass is nice and pristine. They got the green thumb out here. They're bringing all of the Kimlon, man, and Roundup, and they got whatever it is to make the grass just look real pristine and green. And so how do we get there to
Hmm.
where that is what we do with the land we have? You know what I mean? You know, who conditioned us to believe that we made it, or that's the thing to do? When you have any sense of land, whether it's a quarter of an acre, or whatever, um, even that farm out there up in Marlboro, as I looked around at some of the homes out there, very few people. I think I saw one home, went around and kind of just really navigated the whole community there. I think I saw one home with a garden, and these people had like very large.
Huge
Uh,
acres around the house, right?
Yeah.
so, and it was just a bit disappointing that the understanding we have, or lack of understanding, is that if I have a large amount of land, that the only thing I should be doing is making it green and not having any use other than it's nice and green and it's for show, it's superficial. And so, yeah, we look at the large part and say, okay, these folks are being displaced over in China, I mean, in Asia and India and Africa. But, we're being displaced right here in America. You know what I mean? By simply not using what we already have. And
Yeah.
so that whole concept of the backyard food factory that our good brother Che Axum came up with is, I mean, it's timely, it's phenomenal, alignment with sovereignty. It's a shift in consciousness, and that right here, right now, if you have a backyard, many most folks do, you should be growing something, and unless there's some kind of zoning process that
Hmm.
says you can't grow it, and you really need to probably reconsider. You need to be leaving there if they're telling you you got property, you can't even grow something on your own property.
Right.
But even if you don't have a backyard, I'm pretty sure our good brother Che asked me to talk about that.
Yeah.
People grow things on balconies. You can do it hydroponic, or you can put indoors. So at this point, it's just a matter of, do you want to grow something? It's not even about can you. Wherever you are, is drop that bucket, like Booker T. Washington said, do something, and we need to grow something. So I'm passionate about that. I think with that, if enough people just have that shift in consciousness, wherever I am right now, I can grow something. Now, if I'm just in a dormitory room at Howard University, let me start sprouting something in a cup.
Yeah.
It's a shift in conscience. Like, okay, wow, I'm doing something. I'm growing something.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, I'm
Yeah.
passionate about
My timing is everything. So,
Yes.
I just, folks now, there's so much information and so much misinformation on the internet now. And I was fortunate when I first got into, agriculture in the, very early 80s. I didn't look online to find out how to grow food. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
of course, I went to school, but I had many mentors. I had mentors who had been farming since the 60s and 50s. And,
Mm-hmm.
I visited their farms and I learned from them. But also, I went back to school and got my degree in crop and soil science. And also, then I worked at USDA for 20 years. So, there's so much information, misinformation out there. I think a lot of people just don't know how to even get started.
Yes.
So, there's you can start a garden in your backyard if you have that. But there are also things like, you can do an edible landscape. So you can have just think about all the homes in Bowie, all the homes in Upper Marlboro.
Mm-hmm.
You have these plants that you've already put in you have azaleas, you have rhododendrons, you have all these plants in your. You can do edible landscaping. If you have the right design or desire to do that, you can put some edible landscaping. Now, I must tell you this, that edible landscaping will be very attractive to deer and other animals like that. So you have to find out a way to really kind of protect the crops that you put in. And if you want to put in garlic and you have a rhododendron plant or a boxwood or something like that, you want to put garlic on either side of it. You can do that, but you have to have some knowledge about how to do that and when to do it and how to put it in and how to protect it. So there's a lot of information like that. So I think a lot of people, sometimes people just their paralysis analysis, they're paralyzed by just thinking about stuff too much and they can't make a move to that
Mm-hmm.
first step. What's
Yes.
the first step I do tomorrow when I wake up tomorrow? Do I
Mm-hmm.
go to Home Depot and get some soil? Do I go get some plants? What do I do? What do I
Right.
do? And so, but then you get on the internet and you're just overwhelmed by the information on the internet. You don't even know where to start. You don't know who to believe. It's just I feel sorry for folks now because
Yeah.
unless they have somebody who has really really done this and has experience in this, it can be a very daunting kind of thing. So, but I can tell you this, like Manifest said, I tell people all the time, what you can grow, whether it's in the balcony, in a pot in your backyard, or whatever you can grow, what you can grow in your backyard or what you can grow on your own, sometimes you can't even find that quality at the store. It's not
Mm-hmm.
available. You can grow better quality of what you're growing, on your own if you grow it correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
Okay. Okay. At one time, many of our ancestors were farmers and, and agriculture based.
yeah.
And so, how do we get to this stage now where we, like you said, we got to look on the internet, go to YouTube University to find out how to grow things or what to grow and
Well,
just.
yeah, I would say this. And a good friend of mine told me this a long time ago. He said it only takes one generation to lose knowledge about farming. So if you
Mm,
have people in your family who are farming
mm-hmm,
and say they don't teach you anything about farming, you have to go to the internet now. You have to really find out, how to do it, how to start it. And there's so much wisdom that you are not getting because they did not give it to you. So you imagine how many of us are maybe like one, two, maybe three generations from the farm, and nobody has given us information. So we kind of just, we don't know where really to start at. So that was one of the things we really started at UDC. We do a lot of classes. We do classes on biomes of farming. We have some soil-based classes of agroecology, and just a lot of classes like that, And so,
yes.
and we have a lot of things like that to kind of get people reconnected to growing food. And so that
Mm-hmm,
sometimes that just takes a while, but the sources are available. But it's you got to find the right person, the right people. Never want to buy clothes from a naked tailor. Make sure that tailor got some clothes on it, then he can teach you how to sew clothes and make clothes.
right.
So if he ain't got no clothes on, I ain't the person to teach you how to how to close
How
yourself.
to grow anything, right, right.
So you don't want to go get a haircut from somebody that look like Don King or something.
No, 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 no. Yeah. So it's you got to maneuver it, but yeah, yeah.
Okay. What do you think, Brother Manifest? Like, how do we get to this stage? That
Well, I
was.
go what Brother Shay said is that I mean we live in a very technologically advanced world now in comparison to our parents and grandparents, great grandparents. So um, it's not just agriculture; it's just with everything. People are in this day and age at times less inclined to have heart-to-heart conversations. Instead of talking, shaking hands, people just said, I don't even want to talk on the phone. Send me a text.
Mm-hmm.
You know, uh, I don't even want to. Everything is electronic, so to speak. Obviously, we've had the blessing and the benefit of this, still able to see each other's faces and see each other in real time. I mean, times where folks have Zoom calls where you don't see anything but the representative, but the photo that they put up. So I'm referencing that is because, whether it's our human to human interactions, um, how we show up in our relationships and our relationship with food.
Mm-hmm.
We're in a place now where, a time now where we have to intentionally, consciously choose to be human. You know, we're not robots. We're not it's just some transhumanist, cyborg robot, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So that also expresses itself through our food source. Some people just say, "Well, I don't want to know, anything about food other than how it shows up on my plate. I just want to see." You ask a lot of people, you say, "Well, where does cucumber come from?" Well, it comes from the store. You know what I mean? They can't tell you the layers of,
Right.
Jason would say, how it's plant, you got to prepare the soil, you got to till the soil, you got to plant the seed, you got to germinate it, bring it up, so forth and so on. All they know is you can go to Safeway, Giant, Aldi's, Lidl, so forth and so on. So I think it's the entirety of the way of life that we have. But, I'm sensing that a lot of people are realigning and returning to the earth now.
Mm-hmm.
uh, have this reemergence of rekindling, realignment of growing our own food in our own backyards where we have it. That is a return to our natural, authentic way of being. Touching earth.
Yeah.
Put your fingers down. It's nothing like, putting your fingers down into the earth, moving the soil, touching Mother Earth. It does something to our connection of self. Like this morning, this grand rising, I went outside for the first 30 hour or whatever, 90 minutes, and just had my shoes off, doing qigong exercises, but just connecting with the earth, walking around with my off, feet on the ground. And that's just, it's been scientifically proven that that has benefits. It's called earthing, where there's electromagnetic current up from the earth's core into the soles of the feet that really send energy and help the energy circulate in the body. So, it's these, we have to realign and return to our humanity, and this is a major part of it because we eat 2 to 3 times a day, sometimes more. So if we can realign with our food source,
Mm-hmm.
something that is paramount, that is so essential to our being, that
Yeah.
will help us remember our humanity. So
Absolutely.
this is a game changer here.
Yeah, it is. It is, and I like what you both mentioned about that connection to the earth. Um, Another question I had was, why do you think we should stop relying on others to produce our food and grow our own? And I think, it's our responsibility just to grow our own food. That way you have more control over the quality, the quantity, and what you have available when you grow on your own. Whereas if you have to rely on others, you don't know what you're getting. You don't, if organic's not available, then you gotta, choose something else. You don't know, like you said, if it's GMO, if it came from a lab, if it's naturally grown, does it have seeds? A lot of people are complaining about the high price of food right now, which is an issue. but that's another reason to grow your own. So what do you think? Why do you think we should stop relying on others to produce?
Uh, for me, I mean, one of the biggest things early on when I got into, you know, this, I was really kind of looking at why is food not as nutritious as it was 30 years ago or 40 years ago? So there are a couple of reasons for that. So there's some two reasons I'll talk about the dilution effect. Number one, there's the genetic dilution effect of crop breeding. So if I have two strawberries and I got one strawberry, it's a beautiful strawberry, red, big, juicy strawberry, but doesn't have a lot of flavor. And I have another strawberry over here, which is kind of small and kind of, not too attractive, but it has tremendous flavor.
Mm-hmm.
So in the old breeding process, back in the old days, you take the pollen, you go from a paintbrush, and you take the pollen off of one flower, and you deposit onto pollen of another flower, then you wait for that next kind of progeny, that generation. But what happens with the genetic dilution effect is that sometimes, say that big strawberry over here was nice and juicy and beautiful, has a lot of calcium and magnesium in it. But when you go through the breeding process and you kind of breed that, trying to get that flavor, you lose some of the nutrients,
Mm-hmm.
the nutrients that are in the process. So sometimes you might lose, maybe the calcium levels might be lower, boron, copper levels. So you lose some of that in the genetic breeding effect. And the other effect is the fertilizer dilution effect. So, you have fertilizer. If you know anything about growing, you got the three most important elements of fertilizers are N, P, and K: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So sometimes when you use soluble fertilizers, which are very high in those elements, so you put those in your plants, in your ground, or you fertilize your plants with that. There's so much of those three elements in the soil, the N, P, and K. There's some of the elements that need to get up into the plant, like the phosphorus, the calcium, the boron, the zinc, some of these other things that you need for your immune system and human health.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get up into the plant as much as they should because of the overabundance of these three key fertilizer nutrients, N, P, and K.
Mm-hmm.
So when you use slow release fertilizers, organic fertilizers, so slow release fertilizers, these fertilizers release slowly in the ground and it gradually absorbs it. So they allow all the nutrients. The 17, or sometimes people say even more, elements that plants need for optimum growth.
Mm-hmm.
Same nutrients that plants need for optimum growth, the 17 elements are the same 17 or more elements that we need for optimum growth. So that's why, sometimes growers and people are growing your food in different places, whether it be California, Florida, or stuff is coming from another out of the country. They're not thinking about that. They don't care about that. They
Mm-hmm.
just think about giving you something that looks good, attracts your eye when you go in the store and you buy it.
Mm-hmm.
So, growing, like I said, growing your own. I tell people all the time, what you can grow on your own, if you can grow it correctly, you can't even buy that quality in the store because it's not even there.
Yes, I agree. Yes.
So that's, I think I hope I answered the question. I mean,
Yes, you did. You did. Manifest. Did you want to
yeah,
take a jump at it?
Well, I mean, I think the food quality absolutely is a concern. Should be a concern for all of us. Um, we all should have some understanding of where our food source, uh,
Mm-hmm.
other than just looking at the back of the label on the product.
yeah,
And even if there's some foods that we imagine that come from wherever, Peru and things of that nature, that should not be the majority of our. There should be a large percentage of food that we have some sense of whether we are growing it ourselves or, in my perspective, in my understanding, local food farmers markets or something. We should know who our local farmers are.
Yes.
Put
Yeah.
up yourself, hey, if Shay's not growing it, you're not growing it since tomorrow, then okay, we know that then the Ziraka man or somebody else is growing it. We know in a whatever, you know, maybe a 30-minute, 20-minute radius of where this food is coming from. That's ideally where we want to go. You know what I mean? Because we have relationships with people, with their trust there. We understand what those practices are. We understand what's going into the
Mm-hmm.
food production process. Without any understanding of any of that, we're completely at the whim of corporations that don't always look out. For people. They oftentimes put profit over people.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's something that you all said earlier, and we can look at it like I think we referenced children, or you are what you eat. If we can look at it like this, when we're young, we need parental supervision. We're dependent on our parents, elders, to look out for us, to feed us, to house us, to take care of us. When we get to be mature adults, there should be a level of autonomy, independence, interdependence, where we're not just, okay, I'm all out for me. No, interdependence, not codependence or not dependency.
Yes, yes.
So that's what we have to break, is that dependency where I'm not doing anything for myself. I'm strictly relying completely on, going to the supermarket and the grocery store. And so, because there's a saying that absolute power corrupts absolutely. In other words, when you give others that level of power over you, whether it's your food or whether it's your education or anything, and you don't have any influence on that process, there's bound to be a level of corruption. That's not
Mm-hmm.
just, or that's with anything. So we need to have a direct
Yeah.
uh, amount of influence on what we're eating.
Yes, yes, that's a good idea. Very good. Um, do you have to have a lot of money to get started growing your own? And two-part question: what are some simple, inexpensive ways to get started? I know Brother Manifest mentioned earlier, even if you have a balcony, plant something, sprout some seeds or whatever. So do you have to have a lot of money to get started?
You know, what I would say for most people is this. Okay, so say if I'm in the park, I'm in an
Hmm.
apartment. My son has an apartment, and so he's getting ready to start growing something on his apartment balcony. So first thing I tell folks, I said, well, do a sun audit of your balcony or patio.
Hmm.
Get up in the morning and see how much sun you have. You might not have a lot of sun. You might have a little sun. You might not have a lot of sun, but do a sun audit. You kind of see where the sun is at 8 a.m. and go back out again at 12 and see where the sun is. And you might not have sun, or you might have sun. So do a sun audit. But one of the things that you can really grow, and you don't really need a lot of sun, and it can be very, very, very beneficial for you nutritionally, is herbs.
Hmm.
Um, my go-to herb is parsley
Hmm.
on the balcony.
Hmm.
There's a parsley called I prefer Italian flat leaf parsley. Very nutritious, high in vitamin A and a lot of vitamins and nutrients. I mean, that's my go-to seasoning. There's a parsley out now called Cell Par, CEL parsley, PAR, which is a combination between celery and parsley. That's another kind of very valuable thing to grow. Of course, oregano,
Hmm.
Italian oregano, rosemary,
Hmm.
mints. Oh, all these things you can grow on your balcony in a trough or in a pot if you don't have a
Yeah.
yard to really place it. When you have a yard, you can get a little bit more fancy. You can make boxes or raised beds. But I mean, if you have some pots, you go to your box store, get some pots, get some soil, get some topsoil and things like that, and mix it with some compost and mix it 50-50 and put it in a pot and find you some parsley seedlings or oregano or rosemary or basil or the kind of seedlings that you use. And start. I mean, that's an easy thing to do. That's
Hmm.
very easy. You don't need to dig up a yard. You don't need to build boxes. You don't need to do any of those things to do that. So there's really there's not much of an excuse not to have something growing that you
Right.
can do to And, you know, whenever I'm cooking or whatever I'm doing, you know, I'm going clipping off the oregano, clipping off the rosemary, clipping off the parsley. I'm putting that in everything that I eat. I'm
Mm-hmm.
making the herbal tea. I'm getting the ginger mint and the mint, spearmint. I'm crushing that up, putting it in the mint, putting it in the tea.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's just, you know, it's not difficult to start there. And that
Good.
doesn't take that takes a lot to do.
Yes. Okay. Manifest.
Well, I mean, I concur. I just think people need to have the mind they want to start.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the biggest thing. There's a lot of people who are still in the mindset of they're just abdicating their responsibility of having any connection to their food source to someone else. And I think the more we can help people remember their connection to the earth and what should be ideally the food source, I think there'll be a natural, spontaneous return. Some folks to, hey, I need to be growing something. I'm seeing other people around. It won't be faddish. It won't be trendy. It'll be a shift in personal and collective consciousness
Mm.
of, hey, it's natural to grow your own food. That's where we want to go with this, where it
Yes.
take the kind of the woo woo out of this. But if you go back far enough, as Shay said, it only takes one generation. But if we go back far enough in all our family trees, we had food growers.
Yes.
Those food growers in your own family lineage, whether it was the uncle, was the aunt, grandpa, on both sides, your mother, whoever it is, you go back far enough, you'll find them in your own family. And we need to remind people of that. And that, it's not some completely complex. Obviously, it's not completely easy either, as your brother Che, the expert. There's certain strategies and protocols that we must align with. But if our elders did it, if our ancestors did it rather, and they had far less than what we have today, what's our excuse? The only thing they had different was an awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they didn't have the all of the amenities that we have now. You know what I mean? Where they had all of the options. They, out of survival, they had to grow their own food. If they didn't grow the sweet potato, cabbage, and the lettuce, or have the apple tree or the orange tree out there, they may not have survived. You know what I mean? So they did it out of survival, and let's hope we don't have to return to a survival state of being where folks are reminded of the need to grow something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I keep this gentleman's picture behind me. You know, George Washington Carver.
Oh yes. Okay.
I mean, all of what we're talking about tonight, he was doing this in the 30s and 40s. Everything that we're saying tonight,
Mm-hmm.
he's already talked about it.
Yes.
Growing your own, doing your garden, you know, going in your backyard, putting your garden in your backyard. I mean, yeah. I mean, he was in the 30s and 20s.
Yeah.
I mean, he was talking about this. That's what he was talking about.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
we need to remind people about George Washington Carver.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and before that, hopefully I'm getting more time to work on, my book, but 3,500 years ago, people African descent, we had the most successful sustainable agriculture for 3,000 years almost in Nile Valley.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we had a high, there were, it, Nile Valley was a hydraulic civilization. So hydraulic civilization means a civilization that was dependent on a major waterway. There were other hydraulic civilizations in society in China. Another hydraulic civilization you might know about was in the Fertile Crescent, where the Tigris and Euphrates River was. And there were different other hydraulic civilizations throughout, humankind. But the most successful and the most sustainable one was the Nile.
Mm-hmm.
The Nile Valley had a sustainable agricultural system until the 60s. Until the 60s, when they put some dams up, which kind of dealt with the water and release and things like that. But I mean,
Yes.
they had, and there were so many reasons that they prospered. I mean, these people prospered because number one, I mean, they had they had stable governments,
Mm-hmm.
but they had gods and goddesses,
Mm-hmm.
which they relied on for their sustainability.
Yes.
So that's why they survived. They had a diversity of spiritual connections.
Mm-hmm.
And so that, I mean, that's 3,500 years ago. They had the first and the most sustainable agriculture in history. Nile Valley civilization, Sudan, Nubia, Kemet. Yeah, that was it.
Yes. Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, that was it.
Right. And we had a comment in the chat from Inner Thought. It says, um, welcome Inner Thought. They say once you find self and become dependent on the source in you, will be directed to be the source of all things, including foods, medicines, etc. Ashe. And Inner Thought also says that is a good point made by Shay Axum. Made me think that I have no one to pass down my knowledge on growing foods and medicine. It dies with me. Inner Thought, if you don't have anyone to pass it down, maybe teach a neighbor, because
Yeah,
we got
yeah.
a village. So if you don't have your own children, maybe nieces, nephews, neighbors, start a
Community garden.
community garden
Yeah.
in your where you live, and you can pass that knowledge on to the people in the community. Create a community garden.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did y'all want to comment on Inner Thoughts statement?
No, I mean, and the thoughts is absolutely correct. For me, what I have, I believe it's a gift because, like I said, I didn't grow up. I grew up in Northeast DC. I didn't grow up on a farm. I didn't grow up like many people I know. When I told people I was going back to get my degree in agriculture when I worked at USD, they said, "What are you crazy?" I said, "We're trying to get away from the farm. You going back to the farm?"
Exactly.
They said, "What the hell wrong with you?" I said, "Well, yeah." But sometimes when you get something and then if you get a gift, you got to give it back.
Yes. Yes.
If you don't give it back, I, like Mr. T said, pity the fool.
Mm-hmm.
You got to give it back. You got to teach it. You got to give it. You got to show people. You got to give that information back because, yeah, I mean, you just have to do that. So yeah, but you have to give it back. So if you
Mm-hmm.
got it, give it back. Go to the community center. You
Mm-hmm.
know, do whatever.
Yep.
Community
Teach.
guard. Yeah,
Yep. Teach some workshops on some of the
yeah.
things we're
I
talking
mean,
about, and
just
yeah.
just show young people how to start a seed up, how to start a seed in a cup. Show them
Mm-hmm.
how to do that. Put it on their windowsill in the house. Something, something.
Okay.
Indeed, absolutely. I used to teach in the school system, and some schools have gardens, but that needs to be prominent throughout.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
If
and
you
this.
remember, we were all in school. Whatever we were in school, we had home ec.
Right.
We used to have some semblance of, if we didn't have food gardens, but we had some emphasis on how to cultivate, how to prepare some food. Having some relationship to food other than the school lunch, the square
Yeah.
pizza and the peas and the milk and all that kind of stuff. You have some relationship to that. So even they took home ec out. So not only has it been lost in our family structures, but it's also been lost in the school system process in terms of having a relationship with food, home ec, so forth and so on. So
Yeah.
we bring that back. I'll bring that forward.
And they're bringing it back. We have this thing in schools now called STEM:
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
science, technology, engineering, and math.
okay.
Yes.
It should be called STEAM: science, technology, engineering, agriculture.
Agriculture and math. Yeah.
Mm,
Because what we forgot, agriculture is the mother of all sciences:
Yes.
chemistry, biology,
Technology. Yep.
botany, physics, geometry, algebra. All of that's in agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
All of it's in agriculture.
This is
So
yeah.
when we really kind of eliminate that, I don't even like to hear the word STEM. I mean, I tell people STEM. Okay, well, where's your agriculture? Because agriculture is the mother of all sciences. So how can you not have agriculture in
Mm,
your educational content there?
yes.
That's because you don't have agriculture there. We don't have agriculture there because we've lost the knowledge of agriculture. We don't think it's important. So we don't even know enough to put it in STEM. That's why it's not in there. That's why it's not in.
Yeah.
That's the only reason it's not in there. It's not
Hmm.
because they just sliding it because they didn't think it's not important. They don't even know enough to put it in there because they don't know that agriculture is the mother of all science.
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting that things that are should be fundamental survival skills, because I'm a former teacher myself, but things that should be fundamental survival skills are not taught in school.
Yeah, yeah, right.
And that's something that is fundamental, is
Oh yeah,
basic, is essential to a survival, is knowing about, like you said, having that relationship with the earth and plants, knowing what to grow, how to grow it. That should be part of every school curriculum. And
yeah,
there's so much focus right now on all these other things that they're trying to eliminate or add to the school system, but
yeah.
things like this is not included.
Yeah, I mean, I fight all the time to, at UDC, a land grant institution, to really kind of get the connection between what we do at the farm and the students. So, unfortunately, sometimes students will matriculate through UDC, and sometimes they might even go through UDC and don't even know that we have a farm. And I tell everybody, I say that's a sin.
Hmm.
You are not teaching for sustainability. You are not teaching for survival. If you're not even, I mean, children are, the young folks. I want to get them to the farm. If they can come to the farm, but at least tell them about the farm. At least have that showing on videos, running videos on campus about sustainability, about the issue of farm and food justice. So yeah, that's my battle every day. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's coming. I mean, it's better than it was when I first got there. Absolutely. A lot more students come to that farm now from UDC than when I first got there. When I first got there, what any students coming there? They didn't
Mm.
even know we had. They didn't even know we had a farm, but now they do.
Wow. Great.
Now they do. So my job is to say, okay, you might not come to the farm, but I need you. You need to know about the farm and how it deals with your sustainability and your survival in the 21st century and why this farm is important. Even
Hmm.
if you don't come to the farm, if you never put a seed in the ground, understand the connection between the farm, your survival, and sustainability for the 21st century.
Absolutely. Ashe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Manifest, as you wanted to chime in.
I think Brother Che, eloquently stated. Yeah, it's essential that we teach
Oh, yeah.
communities, teach our young people, so that they have the mindset um, very early uh, on growing their own food, and then there's a lot of people who are trying to remember in their 40s and 50s they need to be growing something.
Hmm.
So, and that only happened because, as Brother Chase said, there's a miss in a generation. We just got away from our more natural ways of being. So we need some consistency here going forward. I think the next 10 years is going to be very pivotal in terms of how humanity moves forward. We have an opportunity as more and more people are getting into growing their own food, realigning with that, connecting to the earth, to do something very beautiful and meaning, and probably within the next 7 to 10 years. And so, just imagine what it would look like if the numbers of people growing their food around the world exponentially increase.
Yes. Yes.
That's such a major shift
Hmm.
because it's people taking responsibility for their own well-being. You know,
Huh?
the food is kind of like it, it's a component to a larger framework. People saying, listen, I'm no longer turning over how I live and outsourcing that to other folks to do what they want to do with that. I'm right here dropping my bucket and I'm taking responsibility for my own well-being. I think the more we do that, that carries over to how we nurture ourselves in terms of our own self-care and healthcare approach. We put our own, food and exercise and mindfulness and stress reduction and holistic ways of living as our primary healthcare, because those are connected. You know what I mean? When our lack of connection to our food source and growing our own food is directly related to folks feeling like they need to go to someone else to give them a diagnosis on their well-being.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm outsourcing everything here. I'm outsourcing my connection, my food consumption and food production. I'm outsourcing my health care. I'm outsourcing everything. So this is a return to the individual as well as the collective, the families and the collective, the communities of empowering themselves. So that's exciting to me.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm very optimistic because when I first got into this, probably in the early '80s, I didn't see a lot of young people really doing this, but now it's like, man, it's so
Mm-hmm.
many young folks just growing stuff here, there, everywhere. Every city I go to, I see young people just growing food here, just gardening and growing food, and very passionate about about agriculture and things like that. So man, it's beautiful.
It is. It's like a revolution right now, like a green.
Yeah, and it's only gonna be more.
That's good.
It's only
That's
gonna be
good.
more. Yeah, it's only gonna be more. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's a very exciting time.
Okay. Well, as we bring tonight's live to a close, would you like to share your contact information, how people can get involved in your organizations or support you?
Okay, manifest. I'll let you go first.
okay, absolutely. Well, you can find me in social media, Manifest Rod, Heal Humanity, Facebook, HealHumanity, Heal Humanity. And we're posting updates and photos regularly on food growth. Obviously, Shay is one of the primary farmers, food growers that we connect with and we work with. But we're promoting the backyard food factory, grow your own. Again, you can find me on Facebook, also on Instagram under Heal Humanity. You can also connect with me personally at info at healhumanity.org. info at healhumanity.org. And we're constantly promoting, the backyard food factory, what Shay is doing, what other folks are doing, and how we do it.
Yeah, and you can reach me at Earth and Food, um, earthandfood.org, and this kind of email me any questions you got or want to find out more about anything we're doing, and just send me an email. I'll be happy to I'll be happy to answer your email, and you know, or either contact Brother Manifest, and he knows how to get in touch with me. And so, yeah, I mean, I would say this let's just get to growing. Get to growing.
Yes. Let's get to
Yeah,
growing.
get to growing. I would say this, if you plan on doing a fall garden, and um, your fall garden starts in August. It doesn't start in October in this region. It doesn't start in September.
Mm-hmm.
September you can probably get it in, but there's so many crops that you can grow now. And the great thing about starting your fall garden in August is that if you want to get these plants vigorous and robust and get them at least 80% growth on these plants, and then when the temperature drops in October and November, these plants will survive the colder temperatures, but they have to be a specific plant from a specific plant family.
Mm-hmm.
Any of the crops in the brassica plant family,
Mm-hmm.
that means arugula. You can put arugula in there, like kale, collards, broccoli. Brussels sprouts. There are few. there are quite a few crops in the brassica plant family, but look at the dark leafy green vegetables in the brassica plant family, which will help you your food security, your winter food security, and also increasing your immunity when the 12 or 13 different variants of the COVID are coming. You know, so they got a different variant every week.
Yeah.
So they're coming. They ain't going to. We'll be having the COVID variants for the next 25 years. So, so just boost up, and do your thing. So yeah. So
Good advice. Thank you both for sharing this evening. It's been a brilliant exchange. I really appreciate the knowledge and the expertise that you shared with our listening audience. And I just really hope whoever is out there that's hearing this motivates you to get
yeah,
started. If for any reason you feel that you need the help and the support, you have it here. You know, we your village. You can contact us and contact these brothers at their contact information. I'll put it down in the description box, and just get started. And if you
yeah,
don't see a community garden in your community, by all means, feel free to start one.
yeah,
And you can start it on, if you live in an apartment community or balconies, you can always talk to the management. There's a clubhouse or something like that. There's space, wherever there's some space, you can start. And if you have your own yard and your own property with some acreage around,
yeah,
start a food forest. And the possibilities are endless. You can grow
yeah,
stuff in bags. I've seen pots. My grandmother had a farm, and she took old tires, and well, somebody did. They took old tires and they turned them into pots.
yeah,
And you can reuse, recycle, reduce. You can use old plastic containers. I've seen people cut the tops off those, put some holes in the bottom, grow something in it.
yeah.
It
And please, I mean, just contact me because I have a client,
mhm,
and boy, and they have about 3 or 4 acres down there. So today we just broke ground on that plot. I mean, so it was a plot, 4 acres filled with weeds and stuff like that. So we just did our first primary tillage. We plowed the ground, and so we have 2 more tillages to do. We got a secondary tillage, which we'll probably disc, and we got maybe a tertiary third tillage, which we'll come and put
mhm,
beds in and things like that. So if you want to come down and get some experience, get your hands dirty, just learn some things, I feel more than free just to give me a call, and I'll let you know. Meet me down there, and you can get busy. I can show you from ground up. If you got some plot, if you got land somewhere, wherever it is in the world, you got
mhm.
a plot filled with grass and weeds, and you don't know what to do and where to start at.
Mhm.
Come on down. I'll show you what to do.
All right. Well,
I'll show
thank
you.
you. Thank you all so much for that. And, thank you for joining us, sharing this, because the food sovereignty is a very big
Yeah.
necessity, and, a big concern. It should be a big concern for all of us. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
like you said, just get started. All it takes is a seed to plant, and,
And,
get started.
and please check out the concept of agroecology.
Agroecology. Okay.
I agree
Yeah.
with Kyle.
Kind of social justice, food sovereignty thing already incorporated into it. It's locked in there.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much again, and enjoy your evening.
Yeah.
Look forward to having you guys as guests again some other time. We can talk about some other topics with
Yeah.
agroecology and some other things. So
All right. So it's past the farmers. It's past the farmers' bedtime.
yeah, same here, same here. All right then. Peace and love, everyone. Thank
Peace. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
thanks.
Hope to see you down in Bowie. Yeah. Give me a call, folks. Peace.